What do you want to da-da-da?
What do y'all want to da-da-da?
I have no idea what to da-da-da.
We could switch to Progressa da.
Oh, yeah?
We could switch to Progressa and sa.
Okay.
We could sa enough to buy some za.
Oh, yeah. Let's switch to Progressa to da and get some za with the money we saw.
Yeah.
Now we know we're gonna da-da-da.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. It might just be the most normal thing you da-to-da.
Quote to da at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Every sandwich has bread, every burger has a bun, but these warm, golden, smooth steam buns, these are special, reserved for the very best. The Filet-O-Fish, and you can have them too.
Filet-O-Fish Fridays are back at McDonald's. Get this flaky, wild-caught masterpiece for just $2. It's the best thing to happen to Friday since Saturday. Limited time offer. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
What's going on, everybody? Another live stream. Let me get my stuff together here for a second. Unfortunately, I usually use two phones for this, but one of my phones decided it didn't want to work anymore today. So I'm only using my one phone, so I can't stream this live to Spreaker and stream it live here. So I decided to just do here, and then I'm recording it on another device, and I will upload it as an episode to Spreaker as soon as we're done here. So what's everybody up to tonight? Hopefully you all had a good weekend. Quality weekend around here, as you all heard on the show with the Bills winning. Another week of peace, at least in my home, and not a crazed maniac of a soulmate, which is a good thing. She'd be wilding out if the Bills would have lost, boy, I'll tell you. Honestly, though, to tell you the truth, probably not. It was, big move for them to get where they're at. And then to show the progress that they've shown, yeah, she's been pretty happy. And then for me, of course, well, my boys back in action. And then UFC's back finally after a long hiatus. So glad that things are starting to get back to the normal after the holiday bustle. So, hey there, Sonia. Nice to see you. Happy Sunday. Oh, there she is, Jen. The Australian Brigade showing up through the back door again. Can always count on them to come sliding in through the back door. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Anna. You guys got me out here once again, pounding out Celsiuses at 7 p.m. Probably not the best decision I ever made. But a good thing is, I don't have to wake up at 3 in the morning anymore to drive Carrie to work. Her schedule changed, so I could stay up a little bit later now and probably pump out some more episodes, some more content out and stuff like that. That getting up early in the morning was rough. R to the O to the U to the G to the H. Rough, rough, rough. So we've had a pretty slow week as far as news goes. I mean, nothing too crazy, right? Nothing that has moved the case one way or the other. A lot of stuff on the peripherals, right? I don't concern myself with that stuff at this point. I'm more focused on things like Capital One getting cracked for $390 million. That kind of shit is right in my wheelhouse right now, and I think it's like some of the most important news in the whole entire cycle. But it's getting buried by everything else, obviously. So I've been sticking to that. As you all know, the financial aspect of this case is always something that has driven me and made me want to dig deeper into this case. And I really don't see too many people going that route, right? Everybody wants the most salacious story, the biggest, drama-filled story. Me, I'm I'm looking to put the pieces together. And following them financials, boy, let me tell you, them financials are where the pieces are coming together. Yeah, exactly. Definitely slow right now, Jen, no doubt. I've been, it's given me a little bit of time to focus on some other stuff. Like you guys know, I've only, there's been a lot of days where I've been just dropping one episode instead of the two. And I've been trying to just use that extra time to recharge a little bit. It's a grind, right? I mean, I haven't missed a day now since October 1st of 2019. So it's a grind. And the last, I don't know, a few weeks since the holidays, I've been able to take a little bit of time, just pump out the one episode, two episodes when the news calls for it. But like you're saying here, the calm before the storm, no doubt about it. I think it's coming. I mean, as the case gets closer and closer, the trial, that we're going to see things heat up like usual. But as of right now, it's a little slow. Well, hello there, Virginia. Happy to see you. Yeah, Jen, you know me in context and being repetitive, right? I try to be as thorough and thorough as I can when I'm going through this stuff because it's a lot. And not being a lawyer, there's a lot of things that can really throw you off, right? And so I just try to, bumble my way through it. Thankfully, I have some friends who are lawyers, and I'm able to bounce a few things off of them when things get a bit dicey for me to give me more context so I can understand what the hell I'm talking about, right? I want to make sure that when we're trying to bumble our way through this, we're getting the proper context. Yeah, Wexner's finally getting blown up in the news. I mean, we've been beating that drum for how long? The dude's obviously... The dude is obviously somebody that needs to be blown up in the news. He needs to be discussed more. And it's unfortunate that he's not... Oh, hang on. All right. I am having all kinds of issues today. My phone stopped working in the mountains, one of my other phones. So it's the touchscreen wouldn't work. So I was scrambling just a little while ago to figure out what the hell to do. And I just settled on this and I was rushing and brutal. Yeah, Wexner needs to be blown up, man. This guy has been protected by the legacy media for so long. It's like everyone's so scared of this guy. And they act like he's just some doddering old fool. We know that's not the case. You don't have a company like that if you're some doddering old fool. Dude is super smart, very intelligent, and it is ridiculous for anyone to think that he's just some guy who got played by Jeffrey Epstein. Emmanuel, what's up, my dude? Welcome to the party, my guy. But it's nice to see these outlets starting to talk about it, right? Because it's important. It's a huge aspect of the story. Somebody that rich, that powerful. It's a good question, Jen, right? We've been digging, we've been looking. And, when you only have a certain amount of resources and you can only go so far and you hit walls. So I think that piecing it together and reading between the lines is the best we can do as of now. And hopefully, I've been thinking about some Freedom of Information acts to get thrown around because I don't feel like they're being straightforward enough. I think that there's still a transparency issue and a transparency gap. Very possible. Look, I don't put anything past these people. You know how I feel about all of this stuff. I try to steer clear of wild conspiracies and stuff like that. But when it comes to peripheral businesses, I just don't know. These people, when you have your hands in that many pies and you're dealing with so many smarmy characters, it's only inevitable that you're going to get caught up. Like I always say, you can only hang out at the barbershop for so long before you get a cut, right? And that's what these people, Yeah, Angela Clemente's working on great stuff. Seriously good stuff. And the theories that she's working on, I'll tell you what, they might have legs. There's a lot that needs to be answered. And there are a lot of people who have slipped through the cracks for way too long. And I blame myself as well. I wasn't paying attention. I was way too busy wrapped up in my own nonsensical life, worrying about what the other tribe was doing or what silly policies this one was talking about. Meanwhile, we have serious problems staring us down the pipe, and I was asleep at the wheel. Yeah, I think that Scott Borgerson and his neighbors in Massachusetts, they definitely didn't dig him, that's for sure. They most certainly didn't dig him, and they got chased out of there pretty much. And I think Virginia's on to something here as well. I think that it's important to realize that the wheels of justice turn slowly. They take forever. And now they're finally in motion, and I think with all of the energy behind people wanting justice in this case at this point, that this is a runaway train, and they couldn't stop it if they wanted to now. So it is, I don't know, it's crazy to look back at where this case was, at least when I first started talking about it over a year ago, to where it is now, and all of the people who have started to feel some repercussions. You know, I don't know what it'll take with the media. I mean, can we trust the legacy media? Do you folks really trust them? And I don't care what your political leanings are. Do you trust any of these people in the media to do you right or to tell you the truth? There's no Walter Cronkite anymore. There's just a bunch of people that are up there that are reading the news. They're not even making the news themselves. Someone else pumping it in their ear, some producer. So I don't know how anyone can trust anything at this point. And to expect them to go the extra mile to go after Wexner, they have way bigger things to do, like fry their political opponents. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people that'll talk privately that won't speak publicly. Because again, we're dealing with some very dangerous people. Some very, very dangerous people. And, you know, I'm not just talking about physical danger, but they can ruin your life. When you're dealing with people with this kind of money and they have these kinds of resources, what do you think? These sort of people ain't playing around. They're not playing games. Yeah, there you go, Anthony. Look, John Sweeney is somebody who's been doing this for quite some time. He is not somebody who's bought and sold. And I don't mean everybody. I'm just talking about the packaged BS you see on your TV, the boob box that's pumping nothing but rage porn into your house daily. You know, there's a lot of good investigative journalists and people on the ground who really care and want things to change and they want to, you know, do good work, but it gets killed by editors and you know, the boardrooms make these crazy, wacky ass decisions. I can only imagine, Virginia. I mean, honestly, I can only imagine in all of the years that this has been going on, how much has still not seen the light. And I always talk about it on the show, about things being circumstantial evidence. But with circumstantial evidence, that's how any investigation is born, right? You have circumstantial evidence, and then that leads you to probable cause, and then that leads to the investigation growing. And that's what has come, and we have read 800 articles or so on the podcast, and it's quite obvious what occurred here. And it's quite obvious the malfeasance by not only the people who were directly involved, but with the people at the very top of the Justice Department, all the way up to Mukasey and the rest of them, all of them who signed off on it. They should all be getting blown up in the media, but they all get a pass. I mean, they're all war criminals anyway, but, what are you going to do? Me too, and that's why I've put so much time into this. I'm at the point now where it's foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and all the way through now to this point. I mean, I think that it deserves the proper amount of attention, and it just wasn't getting it. For sure, Emmanuel, we definitely do, because look, it's a scary world, bro. I grew up in a time, I guess I'm aging myself now, I'm 40, but I grew up in a time where it was okay to have strong opinions and disagree. That's the only way that, you could really hammer things out, right? I never wanted to live in an echo chamber, but nowadays, forget it. You can't even have any sort of opinion and that's what they want. That's what the corporate overlords want, right? They want us all arguing and fighting over ridiculous things. So we're not seeing the fact that they're in the middle of engaging in the largest transfer of wealth from the bottom up in history. And, people don't want to hear it though right now. Everybody's all caught up in their feelings and their political tribalism. And I get it. I mean, it's an emotional time. I'm not telling people they shouldn't be concerned, but I'm just saying that we should see the big picture and take a long look. Yeah, Dubin, Leon Black, all of those cats in the financial sector, they're all gross human beings. And the fact that someone like Glenn Dubin has been able to move the way he's been able to move, especially considering what he's being accused of credibly. It's not like this is just some accusation drawn out of thin air. We know how close the Dubins were to Jeffrey Epstein. Uncle Jeff. I mean, are you kidding me right now? You're a sex offender, but come over for Thanksgiving dinner. That sounds like a good idea. You'll get the big leg. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Who thinks that's a good idea? So the Dubins, they definitely need to be blown out of the water. They're gross individuals, gross human beings, if you even want to use that word for them. And I really hope that they get what's coming to them. Alan Dershowitz, well, you all know how I feel about old boy. He is a very, very unhinged individual. A very unhinged individual. And somebody that runs around that unhinged and acting the way that he acts, there's definitely something deeper under the surface, in my opinion. So, I don't know how that dude gets away with it either. Another one of these smarmy sons of bitches that gets up there on these TV shows on a place like Newsmax, that disgusting rag, and throws it brazenly in our face. That he's being credibly accused of heinous crimes, but he gets to move in a way that none of us would be able to move. If you were accused of those crimes, you get fired from your job. They don't care. Oh, you're accused of heinous... What? Really? You're out. But Dershowitz? Nah, it's cool, bro. You can defend the president. You'll go on TV. Have another book. Another naked volleyball game over there in, what's it called? Martha's Vineyard. No big deal. And I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of the two-tiered justice system, the two-tiered system in general. And these people, they think that they can operate like this forever without any repercussions, without there ever being any time that they're going to have to answer for the way that they've conducted themselves. I think that Brunel will definitely talk. I think that they're all in self-preservation mode at this point. Why wouldn't he talk? What does he have to... I mean, he already tried to sue Jeffrey Epstein, if we remember, to try and distance himself. I mean, it was a ridiculous and transparent attempt, but he tried it. And we know that there's nothing above these people. They will try anything. Yeah, that NDA. If that NDA ever goes the way of the trash, then everybody's winning, in my opinion, because that NDA is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how can any judge look at that NDA and be like, "Oh yeah, this is good. This is a proper way to use the legal system"? I mean, you're basically telling the rest of us that if you don't have a powerful attorney, that you're screwed. They could do whatever they want. And not only are the powerful attorneys hired by Dershowitz going to dive in and pile on, but the prosecutors, who are getting paid by taxpayer dollars, by the way, are also going to pile on and use your MySpace page to say that you don't have any credibility because you kissed a boy or you smoked some pot. It's just absolutely ridiculous to me. And if anyone ever did that to my daughter, if I had a child and someone tried to demean them in that way, I would go absolutely ballistic. I mean, I can't even begin to explain to you how crazy I would go. And you know, Virginia, it's crazy because if you ladies never took the initiative to go to social media and take your case directly to the people, they would have buried this forever. So it was the courage that you all showed by saying, you know what, we're done. You don't want to listen to us? Fine, we'll take it to the people and we'll let the people decide what's what. And it's obvious the way people have decided already. I mean, let's be real. This isn't like a case that's just happening right now and we're just analyzing information as it comes in. This is a case that's been going on for decades. We have the information. It's all right there. It might be circumstantial, but there are plenty of court documents to back this up. These are receipts. Never mind the first-hand account that Virginia herself has given and the other survivors have given about these people. What more do you possibly need to sway you? I mean, I'm a believe evidence guy. You all know how I roll. I'm not someone that believes all women or I believe evidence. And the evidence certainly leads me to believe that these people were engaged in a criminal conspiracy that spanned decades and continents. So you can take your conspiracy and shove it, because that's not what's going on here. This is a cover-up. Anthony, you know what? I have not read that book. I will put it on my list, though, and I will definitely get to it. I have about 2 other books ahead of that one, but I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, but they don't owe anyone anything, Jen. You know, the way I feel is they've come out, they've done a great service to society by putting these people on blast. Now it's up to society to do something with it. And if our elected officials and the Department of Justice won't do it on their own, it's up to us to push them in the right direction. So there should be no excuses coming forward either now. I don't want to hear anything from anybody now that the Democrats have all 3 chambers, folks. So there should be no excuses for policy and for hearings about Epstein being brought before Senate and Congress. That should be demanded of all of our politicians in the next section. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the grand jury is still in session. We haven't heard anything to say differently, and I believe that there obviously are more indictments coming. Yeah, for sure, Rob. It would be over, dude. I don't even know. I can't even watch like TV shows with kids or people being abused. Never mind my own child, man. I would just lose my mind. It would be a wrap. I'd revert to the Bobby of the early 2000s, and it would be a wrap. I'd just go absolutely crazy, because it's just unconscionable to think that a human being can do this to another human being. And then to be so disgusting and draconian about it for so long, with so many high-profile people hanging out with you. It makes me sick, ill. Like, I don't even know what to say, right? And look, everybody who knows me in real life knows I'm certainly not an advocate. I'm rough around the edges. I say a lot of shit people don't agree with. I'll walk into a room and I'm that guy, right? Oh, this is bullshit. I don't like this. This is stupid. I'm that guy. But I'm also the person who doesn't like bullies. I'm also the person who doesn't like to see injustices such as this occur. And I am also a person who has experienced the evilness and the heavy-handedness of the American government going after people I love. So when I saw what was going on in this case after I really started digging in, there was no way I was going to sit around and be silent. Yeah, look, there has been a time and time again approach by the federal government, it seems, to backburner this case or to make it harder for you ladies to get the justice you deserve. And you know, the problem with judges, in my opinion, is a lot of them are, they're lifelong positions. So how do you get rid of these people? So again, it goes back to, we have to elect quality politicians, but it's almost impossible, right? Where do we find these people? We have 5 people running for president, but 350 going out for American Idol. So I don't, a country of 360 million people, this is the best we can possibly produce? I don't believe that. The government can be prosecuted. It has to be the Inspector General does an investigation into the government officials, and then they will provide their findings to the Department of Justice, and they can suggest prosecution. But they don't have actual subpoena power or prosecutorial power. They have to suggest it to the Department of Justice. So that's why I always talk about the Inspector General and the internal safety valves that they have being so weak and not having teeth. All these guys are hanging out together, they're all partying it up and at functions together. I'm not naive to think that that's not occurring, but it would be nice if they'd at least have some sort of semblance of justice, right? Some sort of semblance of impartiality. Yeah, Judge Marrow was one of the judges of the pre-crop before Preska showed up and before Nathan so far. And when Preska first was talking about the case, you know how I felt about that too. I don't trust any of these federal judges. I'm in a show me mode at this point. And so far, Preska has been pretty dang good. Yeah, it's definitely going to take, look, I hope that this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. If you recall, when the BLM riots were taking place, what did I say on the podcast? That people are pissed off, and people have a right to be mad. And I feel the same way now. These people have a right to be mad too. What, they should just shut up and they shouldn't, say what they think or what they feel? I don't believe that. I believe that there's a forum for everybody to discuss things. And I believe that with the current trend of trying to dehumanize people, it's not something I believe in. And it's not something I will ever approve of or go along with. Ever, 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 ever. It's like bullying. It goes back to the whole thing of bullying. I can't stand it. I cannot stand bullies. I can't stand anyone that is bullying other people. It makes me just absolutely crazy. It comes down to good candidates, and a lot of people are disillusioned with voting at this point. It's crazy. It's just, you know what? All I could say is I hope cooler heads prevail. And come the day of the inauguration, I hope nobody shows up there. I hope that it's just dead, silent, nobody shows up there, and we can start moving on, because this is all it's just crazy. It keeps us from focusing on what's really important, right? Things like this, cases like this. You think these banksters aren't sitting around loving life right now? That nobody's focusing on the fact that they're the real problem in all of this? They want us doing what we're doing, that's for sure. Yeah, even if it's not, I'm going to go early, Rob, and I'll quarantine. I have family there, so I'm going to stay with my uncle in New York. And even if I have to quarantine in New York, I'm definitely going to the trial no matter what. So you could pencil me the hell in, any which way you chop it for that one. New Mexico has a lot of strict rules right now as far as travel. So unless some of those rules lift in February, I'm definitely not going down there for 3 weeks. So I'll have to go a little bit later than that, because I'm not quarantining in some hotel in New Mexico. Sorry, zero chance that's ever going to occur. Yeah, it would be great. It would really be great if all of it would break, because it's crippling. I get it. I understand what's going on, but man, it's rough on a lot of people. You're 100% right. Look, I don't understand how the populists who like Bernie Sanders and the populists on the right, how they can't come to some agreements on certain things and then work from there. Because, there's a populist movement going on around the world right now, it would seem. And a lot of things align. Now, obviously, core beliefs are a lot different. But when it comes to like big banks and getting screwed by the elitists, I think populists of all stripes pretty much fall into the same opinion of enough is enough. But until we can get over the, jostling and fighting amongst ourselves over stupidity, then there's no way that we're ever going to make these people truly understand that they don't really run the world. Because they certainly think they do. I mean, as you all know, I've been shadow banned by iTunes. Me. Shadow banned. For what? They don't dig it. They really don't like people who don't spit their narrative. And you all know better than that. I'm going to spit my own narrative. I'm going to spit the truth as I see it. I can't be bought. I can't be paid. And I certainly will never, ever, ever get up here and spit propaganda. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know what the answer is.
The thing about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. We probably don't even need the words, the Name Your Price tool, to tell you that our humpback whale pup gives you options based on your budget, or that our novelty hand buzzer helps you save on car insurance. And that's the thing about the tiny felt bag filled with marbles. At this point, you've heard a lot of ads about the elusive northern bobcat. The Name Your Price tool, the neighbor who baked you banana bread, only from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Stick it to cheat day. Yeah. With flavor that fuels. 2 new flavors from Reign Total Body Fuel.
He shoots. He scores.
Cherry Limeade. Wild cherry with a burst of lime. And White Gummy Bear. Tangy tart pineapple goodness. 300 milligrams of natural caffeine. Electrolytes, BCAAs, and CoQ10. Sweet without the cheat. Take that, sugar. Try new Reign Cherry Limeade and White Gummy Bear. A total body fuel times 2.
Is to control the release of media in a proper manner, because it's one thing to kick people off of your platform, but it's another thing when you're in control of the web hosting sites as well. So you tell them, oh, go make your own media, social media, so they go and do that, and then their website, their hosting is yanked. So it's just like, of course people are going to feel like they're being disenfranchised and maligned. It's human nature, right? No, Rob, I think that every voice counts and every voice, it matters. One voice they can ignore, but 10 million letters, how can they ignore that? And there's a certain amount of allies in the media where, people that care about the case, like Tara Palmieri, as was mentioned a little bit ago, who would definitely, report on the fact that there was that sort of groundswell of letters being sent to their elected officials. But there's definitely no way that it's, they can ignore it. If you send that many letters in and that many people are interested in what's going on and that many people are demanding change, then it's something that will be hard to ignore. So no, I don't think that you'd be wasting your time. I mean, at the end of the day, what else can you do, right? There's certain decorum that we have to follow. I always talk about it here. They want you to be unhinged. They want you to be a maniacs like we saw in the Capitol, running around in Native American headdresses, smoking pot, under pictures from 1784. That's what they want. That's the image they want to show of people, so that they can enact their more draconian laws, like the Patriot Act. So that's why I always tell everybody civil disobedience is the only way to go. Like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King, like Jesus Christ. Civil disobedience is the way to get your message out. Not violence, not running into the Capitol like a madman. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't even know what to say about it, honestly. Did you really think, who really thought that would be a good idea? There are cameras everywhere. You think you're going to get away with something like that? All you're going to do is make it harder for people that are trying to push the ideology of your tribe. And here we are. Look how much harder it is now. 35,000 troops in D.C. Fortress America, folks. Welcome to it. Me? I'll be right here on my couch hanging out. I have zero desire to be involved in any of that nonsense. People are wild. People are absolutely wild these days. I can't call it. I'm totally with that as well. Look, I think that the more outlets for information to be passed around for people, the better. I believe that people are smart enough to understand what's bullshit and what's not for the most part. There's always going to be fringe people who buy into conspiracy theories, right? There's always going to be people who are going to tell you that they saw a chupacabra. They saw it. We know it's not true. It's entertainment, right? Who doesn't like turning on an episode of Coast to Coast with George Norrie and hearing about time travel and weird, wild shit? But I'll tell you this much right now, folks, as sure as we're sitting here, don't think that they won't move to try and remove that kind of content as well, because it's conspiracy theory. And that's the way they're trying to move. They want to completely control the flow of information. And it's seriously terrifying. Because if you think that I'm going to trust any of these legacy media outlets to tell me anything, you're absolutely wrong. Everything I read in any one of these newspapers, I triple check, because I don't believe anything that they say. Look what happened with Amy Robach killing the story, killing Virginia's interview. I mean, come on, man. These people are untrustworthy. Look at them walking us into a war in Iraq. Have you guys forgotten that? They walked us right into that, lied to us, man. How many people murdered? How many people killed? How many millions displaced? And these are the people that are going to be in charge of all the information, of all of the news. Oh, that's terrifying if you ask me. Absolutely, Rob. I mean, talk about groundbreaking the show, right? When the header music would come on when I'd be driving home from work when I was younger, when my dad first introduced me to that show, and I started actually, listening to it sometimes. Talk about a wild adventure. It was like a book, right? A short story every single night. Man, I wish I had an answer to that, Angeliki. I really don't have an answer. I mean, when it comes to internet safety and IT stuff, I'm really not strong in that category. I don't know too much about it. But I know that there are places where it is very, very, very hard to be tracked. Certain apps, certain groups. But I wish I had a better answer for you there. I think you're right, though. You're sniffing in the right direction. There has to be a place where people can feel comfortable who have dealt with Jeffrey Epstein. I talk about it all the time, the unnamed girls. And I think if there was a place for people to come forward confidentially, then I think that it would be groundbreaking, right? And it would show people who have been abused by people like this moving forward that you can come forward. There's a place for you. There's a forum for you. There's people that are willing to listen. That would definitely be a question for Virginia. I am not too hip to how the charity functions. I've never really sat down. I've never talked to Virginia about anything like that. So that would definitely be a question for her. But I think that charities like that are a huge deal, and they fill a big space because this is a big problem. And it's not just in America. It's a worldwide problem. And like I said, I was blind to it. I had no idea. Zero idea. No clue. And my little sister worked in an industry where she was working with domestic violence victims. And she started to, hit me a little bit to how bad things really were. And I saw the effect it would have on her when, she would deal with some of these cases. So when I started looking at this case, it just really slammed everything home to me how much of a problem this shit really is. Because it's a serious problem. Yeah, Rob, look, dude, I'm not even going to talk about that subject. That's how I feel about it. There's no need. I think that article said everything it needed to say. I can't add much more to that. I'm not the arbiter of who was exposed to Epstein or not, right? I don't know. Maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe she's not. I have no idea. But I'm focusing on the money aspect of this, and that peripheral stuff. That gets you stuck in the mud, man, and it's just not good for anyone, in my opinion. So I just keep it moving there. Yeah, look, there's always a chance that time runs out. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes with some of these prosecutors and these judges, and they want that to happen, right? They slow drag it on purpose, they make it expensive, and normal people can't afford it. So yeah, with this story, people want they want a lead, right? They know that it's getting a lot of clicks, and people they rush to get things out. It shouldn't be about being first. It should be about being right. And that's why my format of the show is the way it is. I read in between the lines of what these knuckleheads in the media are up to. I'm not going to be out here on no fishing expeditions, that's for sure. I think that there's plenty of spaces for, wild conspiracy theories, but I just don't. Here is just not the place that's going to happen. I want to make sure that we're getting things right here, so that when we go back and we go through the catalog, we don't have to muddle through a bunch of corrections and a bunch of nonsense, right? I want it to be as close to being factual and as we have the facts at the time anyway. That's exactly what I want that catalog to be. And maybe at some point, I'll go back through all of those episodes and make like an audio book or something. I was thinking that might be pretty cool, a project to work on at some point. Who knows? That's a good question, Deirdre. He should be held personally responsible, in my opinion. I don't know all of the little laws that they could slap him with, if that's the case, but I would think that somebody who did what he did should be held responsible at some point. It is it's scary to think that a guy like Barry Krischer could be in such a position when his judgment is obviously horrible, right? I mean, what else is it? Either that or it was just straight up negligence. And I'm leaning towards negligence, to be honest with you. You can't be that stupid. I mean, how could you possibly be as stupid as Barry Krischer would have to be to enter into the agreement he entered into with Dershowitz and the rest of the scuzzballs? Sometimes people are just hungry for media attention. People are hungry for likes, and that's like their whole life, right? Their social media and how much attention they get. And so I always think that the best recipe with people like that is just ignore them. Just like, why give oxygen to a fire? You know what I'm saying? Just let it burn out. No sense even bothering with it. Keep it moving. I'm sure that all of you have better things to do in your life and deal with people like that. So just keep it on moving. No sense dealing with any sort of unhinged maniacs at this point in time. Yeah, no, I hear you, Rob. Look, I want to come across as a supporter of the truth. That's really what's important to me. I want the truth. You know, this case needs a real look, and that's what I've always said. That's all I've ever really demanded out of this case, a real look by the federal government. The same way, pursue it with as much zeal as you would pursue it if somebody's last name ended in a vowel and this was a RICO case that had to do with the mafia. Pursue it with the same sort of gusto. That's what I've always demanded and asked, and I don't think that's a big ask or a big demand. I think that they should do their job. That's pretty much what I'm demanding here. And they just haven't done that. They have not done that all of these years. And, you know, finally, with Maxwell getting arrested, it's, you know, turned a little bit. Brunel going to jail, good thing. Prince Andrew getting blown up, perfectly great. But for all these years, they've dicked around. Hey, Tarnia, what's going on? Virginia, you're 100% correct. You know, there definitely needs to be an end to the statute of limitations for something like trafficking or the stuff Epstein was involved in here when it comes to human beings having their lives crushed like this. We can't just 7 years. That's ridiculous. That law is obviously in place to protect the predator class, who is obviously the rich class. So that's definitely something that needs to be looked at. And the perfect time is now. The Democrats are in complete control. Let's see. Put up or shut up. It's that time for me. I'm done with the bullshit. I am done with the words. Like George R.R. Martin says, words are wind. And I am done with it. Let's see. I want action. I want tangible action. You know, I want these people to do what they say they're going to do. Let's get some hearings. If we can have hearings on steroids in baseball, we can definitely have some hearings about Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to government officials and big business and all of these other scuzzbags that were running around hanging out with this piece of trash. Geez, that's another great question. I really don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to how far...
Progressive presents an interview with your upstairs neighbor.
My name's Barry. I live right above you. I don't host parties. I host after parties. They're like parties, only louder and nobody goes home. You can see right here I ripped out all the carpeting because it was holding me back with my pogo stick. Man's got a pogo. Oh, I'm a prankster. I'll grease up a soda can and then when somebody grabs it, boom!
Progressive can't save you from your upstairs neighbor, but we can save you money when you bundle renters and auto insurance with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Every sandwich has bread, every burger has a bun, but these warm, golden, smooth steam buns, these are special, reserved for the very best. The Filet-O-Fish, and you can have them too.
Filet-O-Fish Fridays are back at McDonald's. Get this flaky, wild-caught masterpiece for just $2. It's the best thing to happen to Friday since Saturday. Limited time offer. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Or is the Justice Department willing to go? And how many trees are they looking to shake? A lot of times the Justice Department will take the easy way, the easy path. They don't want to, rattle any cages. Oh, we got a big election coming up. We got to make sure that our money donors are still donating. It's all about the political game. So I really don't know how courageous the Justice Department will be here, and especially pursuing something like that. Unfortunately, I certainly don't see that being on the agenda of 46. He's pretty much laid out what he is going to focus on, and it certainly doesn't seem to be anything like this. Right, exactly, Anna. I've certainly haven't had to process trauma like that, but I know for a fact 7 years is, I mean, people don't even talk about the trauma they've suffered for that long in a lot of cases. So 7 years is just BS. That statute of limitations was put there to protect these sickos, the good old boys club. And I don't know how anyone can even dispute that fact. That law is ridiculous. Definitely needs to be axed off of the books yesterday. But it just comes down to, are they going to have the courage? Will they have the courage to do it? Will they have the courage to put new laws on the books and hold people responsible? Yeah, and not just the men, the predator class. Remember, 38% of people involved in human trafficking are women. So it's crazy to think about how deep this nonsense has their claws dug into society around the world. I mean, I would have never thought for a second that women could be involved in this stuff till I started, reading this case, and especially when he found out how evil the bipedal serpent was. But coming into this, I would have never guessed that so many women were involved. And, I mean, we haven't even touched on how big of a problem this is in the indigenous communities. New Mexico especially. This is a huge problem in New Mexico. At some point, we're gonna dig into that. We're gonna pivot into that at some point. But, man, the 7-year statute of limitations is it's a garbage law and has to go ASAP. Yeah, it's all about that. It's all about the ruling class being in control over everything, your finances, your life choices, who you can talk to on the internet now. So it's just going to get worse from here, in my opinion, unless people start to wake up. Yeah, well, you would think that the Clintons and Ehud Barak would be on blast, right? You would think that Bill Clinton especially would be being hounded by the media. But no, not at all. Bill Clinton he gets a pass. This dude, he's like the Teflon Don version of politics, right? He's the John Gotti version of politics where nothing affects him. Everything just slides off. And it's just Ehud Barak as well, another guy where I have no idea how he hasn't been completely toppled by this story. He's not somebody that was on the peripherals, right? Remember, the people who weren't on the peripherals, those are the people that really need to get brought in and questioned here. Oh, I definitely think that Sarah Kellen's going to talk. She was not built for this. Definitely not built for this. When she's staring down charges, serious charges, and we're talking, if it's going to be RICO like I think it's going to be, then she's looking at a lot of years in prison. So to get rid of some of those years, you would think that she would rat on Maxwell to try and preserve herself and try and get a few of those years knocked off at the very least. So I bet she's already talking, would be my guess. And especially if she is under indictment right now and we just don't know. Yeah, 100%, Chad. That would be my guess too, bro. 100% that she's definitely talking. I mean, people don't understand the stakes. If you've never faced federal indictment, you don't understand how bad they come down on you. You got that right, AJF. They're all in it together, bro. How many times have you and I talked about this shit? All them people are in it together. They're all scuzzbags. None of them care about us. Just take a look at that measly ass $600 they sent you. Yeah, she was probably tipped off that she's under sealed indictment, Chad. I wouldn't be shocked in the least if she was tipped off. Indict maybe, someone like that, who knows. But she probably caught word that she was facing an indictment, and she started getting her fazools and everything in order to try and prepare for the eventual downfall, 100%. Yeah, the legal system seems to think one size fits all way too often. Quite possibly, Chad. Like I said, whatever's going on, it's a sealed indictment still, and it hasn't been put on the docket. So they could really be putting the screws to her, 100%. Yeah, there you go, Rob. $600 to pump the septic. Great. I don't even know what Carrie did with it. I don't get money. Carrie gets it. So whatever she does with the money, I don't even ask at this point in time. I just I get my allowance, you know. Oh, here's your allowance, Bobby. Oh, okay, perfect. They're unreal. The government's unreal, dude. I'm blaming all of them for it, to be honest with you. Every single person in Washington, D.C. And furthermore, they could keep the $2,000. Can you guys I just want my city open back up. That's all. You know, I just want Vegas open back up and let people decide for themselves if what they want to do. I mean, I can't speak on anywhere else, but I know the economic impact it's having in Vegas, and it's bad. It's really bad. No, they definitely hate us all. They look down on all of us. They think that we're gross, we smell, and you know, they don't want anything to do with us. How many of them have town halls anymore? Can you tell me the last time your senator came back to the district to have a town hall? I can't tell you the last time any one of my local politicians was here listening to the people. They'd much rather be in D.C. close to K Street and the lobbyist friends of theirs, so that when they're done putting people in prison for marijuana, they can go get a job as a lobbyist working for a marijuana company. It's such a BS shell game, and all of them are engaged in a large, gigantic game of WWE. For me, the best way that you could help support the show is just to share it. With iTunes dropping that shadow ban on us, it'll be a little bit harder to grow, but not that much. I'm not too worried about it. Today we broke 1.6 million downloads, and that's with, iTunes dicking around. So just sharing it with your friends or on your social media or anything like that, that's a great way to help the podcast. Because really, at the end of the day, the more people who are aware of the case and the more people who understand that it's not some bullshit conspiracy theory, who understand the stakes and what's at stake here, then I think we're all better served. And really, at the end of the day, it's about justice, right? Let's remember that the people we read about and that we're talking about, these are human beings with life and dreams and goals, and that was all snatched from them. So these people need to really, really, really face the music at some point. And if I could just do my little part and, let people know the deal, what's really going on, then that's what I'll continue to do. And everybody who knows me personally knows when it comes to the news, I don't BS around. This is something I take serious, man. This is serious shit for me. And I'm not going to sit here and BS around and care about likes or anything like that. I don't care about that stuff. Oh, that's for other people. For me, this is about getting the truth out there, getting it down on wax, as we would say if we were dropping hip-hop records, so that later on, it's in that catalog, and we can go back and we can refer to it, and so this story never disappears. In fact, I'm starting my own webpage so I can store all of this stuff safely and make sure it never goes anywhere. Not as of yet, Rob. He has not received a response yet, and I highly doubt he ever will, honestly. You never talk to people at iTunes. You're part of an algorithm, right? They churn you in, churn you out, pump it, dump it, and they don't care. They don't give a shit one way or the other. They don't care if they ruin people's lives or livelihoods or, thankfully I don't rely on them scumbags, but I think that more charges are definitely coming down the pipe pretty soon. A superseded indictment should definitely be coming down the pipe. because it's obviously a criminal conspiracy, and you can't have a criminal conspiracy if only one person's charged. So I definitely think more charges are coming, and I think they're going to be ruthless RICO-style charges, the kind that will make you say, holy shit, like Keith Raniere, those kind of RICO charges are certainly in store for Maxwell, in my opinion. It's comes down to more people getting interested in it, right? More people knowing what's going on. I think most people don't understand how deep this case is and the scope of it all. Most people hear about this case and they're like, oh yeah, another sicko was molesting girls, and they keep it moving. But when you dig into it, you realize it's so much more than that. So much more than that. I think that the likeliest people to be implicated are anybody who is involved with these guys as far as money goes. Like I talk about on the podcast, for normal people, the second you receive money from a criminal enterprise, you're also wrapped up in that investigation now. You're also subject to RICO laws because you are receiving gains from a criminal enterprise. You're getting money from a criminal enterprise, from money that was made illegally. So now the federal government, if you're the family member or whatever, now they can use you against your family member who gave you that money. And that's what they do on a regular basis. I've seen it with my own eyes. I know how they roll. So all of these people that were involved with him financially, Leon Black, the Dubins, Les Wexner, all of these cats that were having all of these big money transfers moving all over the place, there's zero chance that they're not connected to these financial crimes. And if they weren't, why were they using the shell companies to make these moves anyway? You mean to tell me Leon Black needs to use a shell company to move around some money? Please, give me a break. The people who can put a RICO case forward are the agents in charge of the case. So that would be Allison Moe, Maureen Comey, and the other gentleman. He's escaping me right now. But I think that Allison Moe seems to be a pretty damn good prosecutor. She seems to care, and she seems to be going hard in the paint against Maxwell. So as of now, I think that there's no reason to think that Allison Moe is not anything but on the up and up. Maureen Comey, on the other hand, I'm not too confident in her stock, considering who her father is and how he dropped the ball for years and caused chaos. So I'm not too sure about her, but Allison Moe, I have a lot of confidence in. I think she's a good prosecutor, and I think she cares about this case, and I think she wants to see it to its conclusion. But I think there have been, people who have worked on this case, mainly the upper echelon of FBI officials and prosecutors who haven't cared enough, who haven't put enough value on this case and done the right thing. But I don't think Allison Moe is in that company. I think that she's doing a pretty good job, and considering I am not a big fan of the SDNY for the most part, that is certainly an admission that I don't make lightly, because I think the SDNY for the most part is pretty scummy. So that's how it always works, right, Rob? Nobody wants to accept the truth, especially when it's a hard truth. People want to chase their confirmation bias. And that's what you see a lot going on today with like the QAnon folks. A lot of those people who got sucked into that aren't bad people. They were chasing their confirmation bias, and a bunch of grifters took advantage of that. You'll never hear that shit from me. You'll never hear me push anything like that. Every single thing we talk about is backed up right in the media. Every single thing. I never go off the reservation for that.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So, have you noticed how everyone's grammar is completely awful now? Like, the texting and the LOLs. Whatever happened to punctuation? I mean, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hi, you've reached Toyota. This is Jan.
Can I save on a new Toyota?
Yes, with great deals through March 31st at participating dealers.
I'm really into mystery podcasts lately for those long drives.
Well, imagine yourself in a Camry when a celebrity sleuth solves the perfect crime. Or camping in a RAV4 when a shocking theft turns a city on its head. Or off-roading in a Tacoma when trouble follows a big city cop to the country. Spoiler alert, it was the butler.
Toyota, let's go places.
That exact reason. They could talk about other people and conspiracies and, people who make assertions about this case. Not me. Every single thing we have ever talked about this case is backed up in the media. Every single article is sourced. Just go and click on it. You know what I mean? So people that talk that kind of nonsense, those are the people who have a vested interest in the truth not coming out. Yeah, hope is elusive, isn't it, Jen? It is quite the elusive chase to be on. But I think that we're on the proper path. We do a lot of doom and gloom, there's no doubt. What we talk about is heavy shit. I was just talking about this today, about how after I'm done talking about this case, how I can't wait to talk about other things, not as heavy topics. But there is a lot of hope in this case as of now, considering where it's going as far as the prosecutions, at least from the outside looking in, right? I don't put too much confidence in the federal government. You all know how I feel about the federal government. But all we could go on is what we're being shown right now, and we're being shown that the wheels of justice are grinding. They're moving slowly, but they're moving. And come hell or high water, it's going to be July soon, and the rubber's going to meet the road. $100%, Anthony. If you want to really get down to the brass tacks of this case, read that book. 100%. When that book first came out and he had the articles in the Daily Mail doing excerpts, I did several segments to talk about that book and promote it because I think it's a very important book for everybody to read. 100%, without a doubt. If you're interested in this case, you have to read Brad Edwards' book. The dude's a legit superhero. He took on all of these people by himself for a long time, man. That takes a big set of cojones, right? That's not easy to do. People like Dershowitz coming after him with RICO suits and all kinds of wild shit. What do you think, that's free? That costs a lot of dough, fazools. So Brad Edwards has walked the walk. This dude doesn't just talk the talk. He didn't just show up as a Johnny-come-lately. Old boy is a legit superhero as far as this case goes, in my opinion. One of the very few, by the way. Because there are a bunch of scumbags littered around this case. Bro, you don't even got to tell me, AJF. You already know, man. We went through it. I've already watched my loved ones go through RICO. But those are the rules that are on the books as of now. And those are the rules I want used and applied equally the way they're applied to those Italian families, to these rich scumbags. Because they deserve it, man. This is a criminal enterprise like you wouldn't believe. All the way to the top. All of these people were taking orders from Epstein. He was insulated by lieutenants. It was a mafia criminal organization setup. 100% without a doubt. These people had it. It's like they watched The Godfather and set up their leadership structure based on what Don Corleone was doing. So I agree. RICO is an overbearing, ridiculously harsh law. And it's applied incorrectly a lot. But if it's ever been a time for RICO, this is it. I do not know what Brad is working on right now. I've never even talked to Brad one-on-one or anything like that. I've just read his book and really respect him as a person for the way he stepped up when nobody else did. How many other high-profile lawyers could have stepped up and put their money where their mouth is and did the right thing and took on Dershowitz? If I had a law degree, it would be my honor to step into a courtroom against Dershowitz and hammer him. God, I love to argue. I missed my calling in life. I probably should have pursued law. Because, boy, I love to argue. But if I had a law degree, I would go into court. I would offer my services to any one of the survivors who wanted it for free. I wouldn't write no books, nothing. Just the joy of hammering Dershowitz in a courtroom would be plenty for me. Because the guy is absolutely disgusting. And not just through this case, and not because who he represents. Because of the man that he is. I don't care about who you represent as a lawyer. When you're a lawyer, that's your job. To represent everybody, whoever that's your gig. I get it. I'm not mad about that. I'm mad about how you conduct yourself as a human being. And I just don't like the guy. Plain, point blank, period. I'm well within my rights not to like the guy, right? And I'm sure he doesn't like me either, by the way. I'm sure I'm not going to be on any, holiday cards or invited to any barbecues over in Martha's Vineyard anytime soon. Anna, for me, it wasn't about the being free. That's what I would have been if I would have paid attention more in college and not just bumbled my way through political science. I should have got a law degree. I should have pursued entertainment law. But you know what? Everything in life happens for a reason. And if you still want to pursue that, Anna, I say you do it right now. It's a good idea. I say that you should do it right now. Try and get grants. Try and get whatever you possibly can. Go to community college, night school. And go for it, because the world is yours. What's stopping you besides yourself, right? I say rock and roll, because we only have one life, and we gotta take our shots when we can take them. Yeah, Dershowitz is super protected, very, very much so. There's no doubt. Oh, look, let me tell you what, I've said it many times. I'd love to go on live with any of these people and have them explain their side of the story, right? I'm more than willing to listen to what they have to say. Let's hear it. If you got some receipts and alibis, let's hear it, man. Let's hear this shit. But as of now, all I have is a bunch of long-winded diatribes, a bunch of whinging, and a bunch of excuses about how you can't sweat and how you can't ride a horse because you're allergic. That shit doesn't cut it, all right? I'm going to need more. And these people don't want that smoke with me. They don't want to come on this podcast. Forget it. Zero chance that'll ever occur. Hey, I'm all for Biden eliminating student debt. Whatever, man. I can't even focus on all of that stuff anymore. Oh, I don't know if you can call him live to his show. I doubt it. I highly doubt that dude would have an active phone line. He knows that nobody really likes him. I mean, maybe some of the people that read Newsmax who think he's a decent guy or something, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't understand how anyone can defend Dershowitz. I don't care if you're the most ardent Trump supporter. How do you defend someone like Alan Dershowitz? It's just I don't know. For me, it's just I can't comprehend defending somebody like that. One of the absolute worst in this whole entire case, in my opinion. He had such a powerful pull over on things, right? And push things in a direction that normal people, normal lawyers even, couldn't get a case to move in that direction. But him, on the other hand, friends with everybody, Mr. Harvard himself, and the band plays on. Well, we know that there's a slush fund that the Congress and Senate have used to pay off sexual accusers. So why would we expect these people in Congress or Senate who are writing the laws to go after people like this? They won't. They won't. And it's a lot of big talk from a lot of people in Congress, right? A lot of big talk all the time, especially during election year. But when it gets down to it and the rubber meets the road, they're not going to do what's right for the constituents because they don't want to rock the boat. They want that committee membership. They want to make sure that they're bringing extra money in for their district with their pork projects. So they're going to go up there and go along to get along. For sure. Dershowitz putting his dirty fingers into this aided and abetted Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, in my opinion. Now, if he would have just won fair and square in the courtroom, I would have been like, you know what? The system is shitty as hell. But you can't blame somebody for winning a court case, right? Blame the judge. Blame the prosecutors. But that's not what occurred. They were backroom dealing, putting pressure on Krischer. Krischer was playing friends with these dudes. And they all worked together and conspired to go after these little 15-year-old girls. What sort of animal scumbag is okay with that? What sort of prosecutor is like, yeah, this is a good idea. We're going to go after these 15-year-old girls who are already abused by this guy, and we're going to get him off. We're going to make sure it's the state charges that he's looking at. It's just, it's beyond belief and imagination that these people can get away with this stuff, and for as long as they've gotten away with it. But hopefully with the NDA, that's going to come to a screeching halt, right? Hopefully they'll kill that NDA and we'll be able to keep it moving. Eyes Wide Shut is an absolute classic. An absolute classic. Fantastic movie. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I don't know. I don't know when my next camping adventure will be. Probably pretty soon, though. Yeah, look, the more people that come out with their story, the better the chances that everybody involved is going to go into big trouble. It's the more voices that are added are obviously a better thing for the prosecution. And I am sure that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of girls who were abused by this guy and his associates. And a lot of them have not come forward. A lot of them are, as I call them, the unnamed girls. These girls from Eastern Europe, these girls from France, these girls from Estonia, Lithuania, Belarus. Where are they? Nobody cares about them? What, because they're from a different country? That's not how I roll. I care about humanity, folks. We've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from caring about people being human, all of us. And we don't care because somebody's from a different country, or no, screw that. I want to know what happened to all of these girls. I want there to be an accounting, and I want there to be a reckoning. These people who ruined their lives and brought them over here, people like Jean-Luc Brunel, and anyone else who might have been involved. And I might even look at guys like Larry Vysotsky and the other pilot as well as aiding and abetting and being involved in the criminal conspiracy, and at the very least breaking the Mann Act by trafficking people across state lines on the airline they didn't know. Sure, Vysotsky had no idea. He just got himself some property in Zorro Ranch. He had no idea. Nope. Hell, me? I don't know what's going on here. What are you guys, crazy? I'm just hanging out living here. Didn't your daughter have her wedding on this property? Oh, yeah, that happened. But we're not close. So that dude definitely needs to get caught up. 100%. If it was the other way around, say Jeffrey Epstein was a rapper, you don't think his pilot would be caught in this conspiracy theory? Why isn't Jeffrey Epstein's people all caught up in this conspiracy the same way anyone else would be? That's the biggest problem. It's definitely happening in America. prolific in America. Where I live in Las Vegas, there is a huge human trafficking problem. Huge. And I don't have the answers on how to address it. I have no idea. I'll be honest with you guys. I have zero idea. And there's something needs to happen. There needs to be some sort of, I don't know who or where, they need to sit down and come up with some sort of plan to address this, because it is a huge problem. Huge problem. And then you have something like the Super Bowl, obviously when there's no pandemic, but the incidents of trafficking in Las Vegas during the Super Bowl are through the roof. Through the roof. So it's a huge problem that needs to be addressed. That's a good question. I have no idea. It probably fell into the black hole that is the federal government. What happened to the $2.2 trillion that the Department of Defense lost? Where did that go? Just evaporated? We couldn't use... I mean, they were just arguing over this whole entire package, right? Oh, it's going to be 1.9 trillion, 2.2 trillion. Well, if you didn't let the scumbags in the military-industrial complex completely and utterly rob us for years of 2.2 trillion, you wouldn't have to worry. You'd have the money in the bank. Yeah, unfortunately, Jen, that's a pipe dream. There's no way to remove poverty. All we can try and do is give everybody a chance at opportunity to make themselves what they want to make themselves. We're never going to be able to legislate equity and equality. It's just never going to happen. Humans don't function like that, in my opinion. So what I think we need to do is we need to focus on having more opportunity for people who come from a lower financial background, right? Better chances at going to better schools, more money available to the community to build things inside of that community. I think that's the only way to make things more fair and give people more of an opportunity, because I just don't think we can legislate equity. I just don't think it'll work. Oh, look, I have come around on healthcare. I think that we need to find some sort of balance. I think there needs to be some sort of safety net for people who make under a certain amount of money. And I think that it's quite obvious that's the way we need to move. Now, I don't think that should destroy the private insurance market, but I think that people need to have a safety net for sure. Look, the Pentagon is obviously engaging in some of the smarmiest bullshit in the whole entire world. And their number one foot soldier is the CIA, even though they won't admit it. Those scumbags are working hand in hand to destabilize the whole entire world. Look at the savagery and butchery that occurred in Libya. And it's a joke. They can waste all of this money, steal all of this money, and then cry about how they don't have money to help people who truly need it. I'm not talking about people who refuse to work. I'm talking about people who are working, who are struggling, who are just trying to make ends meet. They shouldn't have another huge bill thrown on top of them. Of course it was, chat. But, you know, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove, right? I'm sure a lot of that 21 trillion found its way into the pockets of a lot of these scumbag sons of bitches as well. Just about any sort of scumbaggery going on around the world right now is the CIA is waist deep in it. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, Chad, I just read an article about the $500K that Aaron Rodgers donated to Barstool, and how Aaron Rodgers went in hard on Pelosi and Gavin Newsom for not even following their own rules. What a great read. Aaron Rodgers is a gangster. That dude just don't care. there's a lot to respect about the Japanese culture, in my opinion. I really dig the way they go about themselves. I dig Japan as a whole, and I was just talking about how that's one culture that I'm just blown away by it. Like, all of the years of their culture have just been absolutely insanely interesting. Ah, yeah, welcome to the party, my dude. Glad to have you on board. Glad you caught up. You know, there's going to be a lot more coming up, so you're catching up at the right time. I mean, we're moving at a quick pace right now. And with the work that's going on from the gals down in Australia, Jen and Lisa, look, you're covered. You're gonna get this case from the ground, right? You're not gonna get the BS watered down version, the scratch the surface version. You're gonna get the case from people who are really digging deep. So glad to have you on board. Dude, I'll tell you what, these Celsius energy drinks, I know I talked about this last week, maybe they should sponsor me, but these things are fantastic. They don't leave any nasty aftertaste And plus, they were approved by my girlfriend, my minder up there, my keeper. Miss Personal Trainer herself says that those are clean, so here we are. Venezuela, wow. I'll tell you what's been going on down there has been a travesty. What a beautiful culture and a beautiful country just being absolutely ripped apart. And unfortunately, the America once again has their fingers involved in that as well. It's just an unfortunate situation the way the CIA conducts themselves. You know what I try to do, my man, is I try to make it so it's like we're just having a conversation, right? Like I talk about. I want it to be like we're sitting in my backyard, having a session, having a cipher, and just BSing about the case. And that's the way I approach the podcast. I try to make it so it's like that. So that we're having a conversation as opposed to me preaching to you like you need that, right? All of you have a very firm grip on the case. You certainly don't need me to, preach to you about it like other people want to do. But what I will say is this. For me, it's important to stick to the format. You could get the podcast just anywhere but iTunes now, AJF. You could get it at, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Podcasts, it'll be on Audible soon, it's on Deezer, Podbean. All of those sites are still hosting it. You can get it there. And as far as iTunes, I'm shadow banned on iTunes, I guess, because people who had the podcast previously are still getting their subscribed episodes. But if you search the engine, it's nowhere to be found. So hopefully my producer can figure out what's going on there. But I don't hold too high of hopes when it comes to that stuff. You're dealing with like the Borg, right? Almost impossible to talk to a human being or, get somebody on the phone or anything like that to plead your case. So whatever, we'll just keep it rolling. Can't keep me down, even with that. 1.6 million downloads. We just keep rocking and rolling around here, like I keep saying. The waves keep on crashing, the big fish eat the little fish, and I just keep on swimming. And that's the plan, right? Just keep it moving all the way through this trial, get to the end of this, and then we can move on to other topics. We'll start talking about other things. I'm going to have another, I want to have another, like a variety kind of news podcast where we discuss issues from around the world, and we'll read it from each perspective, from perspective of one side, perspective of the other side, and then read between the lines and get to the actual meat and potatoes like we always do. I think an information show like that, there's a need for that in the market. The market is dying for something like that. Some actual hard news, right? And I plan on doing something like that at some point. Oh, I get these drinks, AJF, at, right now you can get them at Walmart, get them at CVS, and there's this little gas station down the block where I've been getting them from. And I want all of you to see what Herodias is saying right here, okay? This is a cautionary tale, folks. This is a man from Venezuela. He understands. He's seen it on the ground. He knows. And what I'm trying to say to people on a regular basis is this is bigger than Trump. People want to make it always about Trump, but it's so much bigger. That's their inroad. Now they have their inroad and they can leverage that situation to take away more freedom, take away more rights, make it more difficult for people to just get on and live a good life. And it's all about control. So just take a good look. You don't have to hear it from me. I'm telling you from the perspective of a political scientist. This is a man who lives it. I don't think it's going to happen, Pop. I really don't think he's going to pardon her. I would say less than 1% would be my guess. I've been wrong before, but less than 1%. I think that you're much more likely to see pardons for his political allies than you are to see for Ghislaine Maxwell at this point. Yeah, more of like a hard news type of show where, you get away from a lot of the BS, a lot of the tribalistic BS, and just try to get to the core of the issue. Really, what the news should be doing is providing information that is impactful on your life. Giving you information that is, your life it's important to you, just living and, going about your day, the weather, the traffic, what's going on in your city. But what happens is they bombard you with rage porn, and over 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 again until you're gaslit. Oh no, there's definitely an international aspect to this. That's something I've covered quite a bit, actually. It's hard to put all of those pieces together, but there's a huge international aspect here. We know that this occurred in France. We know that this occurred in England. We know that this occurred in the mainland of the United States and offshore in the Virgin Islands. That's just 4 places for sure that we can confirm. I highly suspect that this occurred in Eastern Europe quite a bit, and I would not be surprised if it occurred in Central Europe either. Yeah, exactly, Jen. There's not enough of that, right? People just want to push, my side good stuff, and I just don't dig it. Yeah, that knucklehead who's in there crying about his eating conditions, another idiot who doesn't realize that there's real-life repercussions for your actions. That's another dude that obviously didn't grow up getting beat up by his friends or having consequences for his behavior. Because you go to the Capitol and you break into the Capitol, storm it. Newsflash, there's cameras. So these people really thought they were going to get away. Yeah, Chavez was dead on about his opinions of the CIA. Now, I'm not a fan of the way Chavez conducted himself overall, but he was right about the CIA the same exact way Gaddafi was right about the CIA. The international laws are very confusing. There's no doubt about it. And you have to have like a degree from a law school to navigate that stuff. It's hard to comprehend how all of it adds up and how some of these countries, the United States included, can be involved in some of the treaties that they're involved in. But it's definitely a cautionary tale, right? I'm not talking about socialists. I'm talking about authoritarianism of any kind, of any stripe. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle it comes from. Anyone who's burning books and banning things and censoring speech is a dangerous person, folks. Yeah, Sinclair is one of the major broadcast news joints. There's like 5 or 6 of them that control like 95% of the news. It's a joke. And you're already starting to see it. They're already starting to talk about how podcasts are the last place of fringe conversations that need to be checked in on. So how long before they start cracking down on everything that's not part of newspeak, right? And for those of you who read Orwell, know exactly what I'm talking about. It's terrifying. It's really a terrifying place to be. And if we don't have the right to speech, then we're all finished, folks. Because if you can't challenge the narrative and you can't challenge the power structure, then that's no good for anybody. Forget the conservatives who are being banned now. What happens when the other shoe drops and it's the activists on the other side? Well, there's going to be no one there to stand with you because they've already been purged. And that's a place where I don't want to get to. And that's why I'm so adamant about this whole censorship thing and why I won't stand down about it. It leaks over into society in general, and it grosses me out. I don't like it, and I think that if people have weird, wacky opinions, they should be broadcast, right? So we can see how weird and wacky their opinions are. What do we want? All these people to turn into Richard Jewell, go hide in the wilderness somewhere and cause all kinds of mayhem? Because no one's ever challenged their perspective or given them a different option on worldview? That's how you create extremists. And I'm certainly not looking forward to any of that nonsense, that's for sure. So I think that the public forum...
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
Oh, hi. Okay, guess we should talk about something. Kind of tough to be put on the spot. Not sure what to say. But I know what I'm definitely not talking about. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save big!
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hi, you've reached Toyota. This is Jan.
Can I save on a new Toyota?
Yes, with great deals through March 31st at participating dealers.
I'm really into mystery podcasts lately for those long drives.
Well, imagine yourself in a Camry when a celebrity sleuth solves the perfect crime. Or camping in a RAV4 when a shocking theft turns a city on its head. Or off-roading in a Tacoma when trouble follows a big city cop to the country. Spoiler alert, it was the butler.
Toyota, let's go places.
Is a good place for us to have these conversations, hard conversations or uncomfortable conversations or, divisive conversations. We don't always have to agree. And the craziers are going to get weeded out, right? It has a way of working itself out eventually. But if you're interested in cases like Jeffrey Epstein and cases where they're not getting that much media attention, then you need to understand that any sort of censorship puts this kind of thing in serious jeopardy. And that's my main point. My main point is if they can squash people's opinions and they can squash people's voices, then you're going to be forced to listen to whatever narrative is pumped out. And to me, that is just, it's not acceptable. Yo, I'm glad you popped in and you gave us a little bit of a look at, your opinion as somebody who's went through a great societal upheaval in their country. And it's like I always say, I always like to hear from people who have actually lived it as opposed to a second or third hand source. So all I'll say is that's a cautionary tale from somebody who's lived it, folks. Political upheaval is not good. It is scary. It is bad news for everybody, and all of us should be working to simmer shit down. Definitely, Rob. I'm going to work on that P.O. box this week for sure. It's beyond time to do that. I've had a lot of people request to send some stuff, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, let's talk Clinton. Clinton was at the ranch. Clinton was in the Virgin Islands. Clinton's been in New York. Clinton's been on the plane 27 times. Look, Bill Clinton is as deep in this as anybody could be. And the fact that this dude is walking around scot-free, firing off tweets like he's standing on top of some moral high ground is galling to me. I don't know how anyone can take this guy seriously at this point. You want to talk about a sexual predator? The dude embodies what a sexual predator is. How many people are going to come out and say that this dude abused them, and still he gets a platform at the convention? It's gross. It offends my sensibilities. All of these people. And then Hillary Clinton, she's just another smarmy SOB. The way she runs around and carries herself after what happened in Libya. Boy, these people are legitimately responsible for millions of deaths, but they feel like they have the moral high ground to preach to us. Here's an idea, Bill and Hillary. Why don't you just go away, okay? Just go away. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear you anymore. Even the Democrats are sick of you. Nobody wants to deal with these people. The next time Bill Clinton should be on TV is when he's being brought in by the FBI to speak about what he knows about Jeffrey Epstein. Just Ghislaine, as far as I know, at Jeffrey Epstein's wedding. But that's horrible in itself, especially considering there's all that talk about how Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were having when they were having a relationship, right? So Jeffrey Epstein's out here, he has a gumad in Ghislaine Maxwell. This dude has such little respect for his own wife that he brings his gumad to his daughter's wedding. Forget about it. That you can't bring your gumad to your daughter's wedding. What's wrong with you? Uncle Paulie's not going to be happy about that. Ghislaine Maxwell's an absolute disgusting bipedal serpent, and you're right. I've hated the Clintons for a very long time, and it has nothing to do with him in the Oval Office. It has to do with a lot of other things. The guy is a liar, a grifter, and a complete scuzzball. Yeah, Bill Clinton, an absolute scumbag. Yeah, it comes down to greed, right? Everybody was picking at the corpse. Everybody had to have their piece. And then the demonization began. One side had to demonize the other. And before you know it, Venezuela was in terrible upheaval. I mean, we're talking about a country that is producing a ton of oil. Top 3 oil producer in the world. No, there should be no problems down there financially. But because of the infighting, because of the greed, this is what happens. Go all the way back to the Roman Empire and look at the fall of the Republic. How it happened. All of the senators infighting. And this one fighting with that one. And this one trying to consolidate power. And there was a civil war every 10 years. These people would just fight over, the crumbs and the corpse of Rome until there was nothing left. And that is certainly the trajectory we're on in this country, in my opinion. The Roman tale is a cautionary one for the United States of America. And people who haven't really dipped their toes into Roman history don't understand the parallels and how dangerous of a point we're at. Because we're certainly at a point where we have factions fighting in the street. No different from when Augustus and Mark Antony were going at it. The same kind of shit. So, it's crazy to think about. And the corruption is just, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, just like in every other society. No doubt about it. And it's sad people don't see it. People won't see the forest through the trees. They're too caught up. And it's I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. You can't convince people to get out of their echo chamber. People are so locked into their echo chamber, forget it. I do not have any family in South America. I have family in Italy, I have family in Ireland, and I have family in Poland. But I do not have any family in South America. Although I would love to visit South America. Argentina, Chile, Brazil. I want to go climbing in the Andes. Just a beautiful, beautiful part of the world that I really would love to go check out at some point. Yeah, it definitely is like watching Rome fall in real time, Jen. If people who understand Roman history understand what's going on right now. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, and it's, history is not fun for everybody, so I won't really, dig too deep into it, but it's really, really scary what's going on. The Clinton body count list, yeah, I've checked that stuff out. Again, I try not to delve too far off the reservation. I think there's plenty of stuff that we can pin on the Clintons that's right here and not, that can't be considered conspiracy. I mean, just take a look at the job Hillary Clinton did with the Arab Spring and look how terrible the results are. That enough alone right there should be enough for people to hate Hillary Clinton. Never mind, going all the way back to the Arkansas days. I mean, let's be real, that conversation's been going on for a long time. There's a bunch of talk about that stuff. Yeah, there is a huge Italian-American population in South America. I know that there's a huge Italian-American population in places like Argentina, for sure. And I've always wanted to get down there and check it out. South America's just, I want to go check out so many places. Yeah, according to Gerald Lefcourt, Jeffrey Epstein was one of the first donors for the Clinton Global Initiative. And it was in a huge amount, like $6.5 million or something like that. Just, you could Google Gerald Lefcourt and Clinton donation, and he talks about it. I do. I'm not an avid fan of the sport. I watch a lot of, a little bit of EPL. I'm a Chelsea fan because of Pulisic. And I do like to watch international soccer when it's on, for sure. But I'm more of a Big Four American sport guy. Baseball, football, hockey, a little bit of basketball. Mainly college hoop, though. Yeah, you had the Clinton spokesman who came out, and Angel Urino, or whatever the hell his name is, came out and, no, Clinton was on the plane 4 times. And, I mean, really? They don't call him out on that? How come Clinton isn't being hammered the same way Prince Andrew is? A lot of the donations are laundering, 100%. I'm skeptical. The second I hear about these donations going through one of those shell companies, you can consider me skeptical right away. Why not just do it through the proper channels? Why are you moving money through a shell company in the first place? It's so ridiculous. It's obvious that they're trying to avoid the taxes. It's obvious that they don't want the extra look-see. So, it's transparent at this point what they're trying to do. Maybe he can give, what's his name, another haircut, right? Didn't he shave McMahon's head at one point? How about we set it up in the UFC? We get Donald Trump versus, what's his name? Brennan in the cage, in the octagon, and we can get Dana White to have that promoted, and it'll be a fantastic time for all. I'm totally down. Back in those days, though, that's when that wrestling was good, man. All kinds of cool storylines and shit. You got guys like Donald Trump coming out shaving people's heads, and I haven't watched wrestling in years. Yeah, the Clintons they've not done a good work for the progressive movement. There's no doubt about it. They are your prototypical neoliberals who are completely in bed with the military-industrial complex, the same as the right. And what they do is they'll talk a good game. Oh, yeah, these people are evil in the military and blah. But when you look at their actual actions and you look at what Hillary Clinton has been involved in, and then her husband, they're obviously the same kind of warmongers as the same people they're decrying all the time. So I just can't stand the hypocrisy. And then the people who try and defend it like the Clintons are good people. Really? The Clintons are good people? Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, who knows? She might have gotten the submarine from her good buddy Jeff Bezos. Yeah, obviously, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But a submarine is a pretty expensive piece of machinery, you would think, right? What did happen to it? Was that also seized by the government? Are they going to sell it? If so, does anyone want to go in halves on it with me? Imagine cruising around in a submarine. That would be cool as hell. Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm not a huge fan of regulation usually, right? I believe that it could be just too much in a lot of cases. But when it comes to the financial sector, they have proven that they can't conduct themselves correctly. So why should people like you, David, who own a business, who do things the right way, have to, conduct yourself correctly, while these people who are already making obscene amounts of money are grifting on top of it? So I'm glad that the banks are the government's cracking down on the banks for once. Yo, Scott Bakula, that's hilarious. I couldn't do that to my boy, though, dude. Quantum Leap was such a good show. I remember as a kid watching so many episodes of Quantum Leap when I was homesick from school. I don't think we could do that to Scott Bakula, man. We're going to have to get somebody else. Whew. That Stephen Paddock question is loaded. I mean, the official narrative sure doesn't make sense to me. And my personal opinion is he had accomplices. Now, I don't know the deeper meaning of that. I don't know who the accomplices were. But when you look at all of the pieces and how it occurred, there's no way he pulled that off on his own. Zero chance. And I don't just mean with Marilu Danley as his accomplice, right? Who helped him load the guns, by the way. But I definitely believe that there were more people involved in that. As far as who or what or why, I wish I had some answers for you. That case really dead ends, and it goes into a lot of really conspiracy-filled realms where you can't really make heads or tails of what's going on. What I will tell you is this. I listened to that whole entire thing on the police scanner as it was cracking off, and the official narrative does not match what occurred on that police scanner. Nowhere near. They were talking on the scanner how there were gunmen at other properties, people were shot at New York, the Tropicana, all kinds of stuff. And then you get the official narrative and you're like, huh? That doesn't sound like what I just listened to. But they'll gaslight you, right? Over and over and over, they'll tell you the same story, and before you know it, they have you believe in their bullshit. I mean, think about it for a second. Imagine if your wife or your girlfriend helped you load those guns and you went and shot all of those people at the festival. How in the hell doesn't she get arrested as a conspirator? They just let her go back to the Philippines like it's no big deal? I mean, you don't think there's something wrong? You're loading all these guns, your dude's packing all these guns up in these bags to take off with? Or the fact that the house got broken into afterwards while the police were supposedly watching his house. Somebody broke into it, supposedly. Just a whole bunch of wild shit that occurred around that case. That would be a good run for a podcast, like a 10-episode run. 100% that would be a fun podcast to get into, but it's just really difficult because there's no information, right? Nothing solid. A lot of speculation and a lot of people who have a lot of cool theories, but like I always say, it's not what I know, it's what I can prove. So, who knows? Maybe at some point we should do some kind of like coast-to-coast podcast where we get together and we talk about wild shit like that. I'm down to talk about some chupacabras and the Loch Ness Monster, aliens, all sorts of shit. What up? I'm down. I mean, but when it comes to Stephen Paddock, there's like a black hole where information went to die in that case. And it's unfortunate. And right after that case, the Sheriff Lombardo, made it so that the police scanner, you can't listen in on the police scanner anymore either. So it was just a whole bunch of weird shit that occurred that had people questioning it. But really, as of now, I wish that there was more information out there. I mean, I went crazy when that first happened digging into it, but it's like a black hole. So I guess the short answer is no, I don't believe he did it himself. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's wild, right? I don't. Who knows? There's no like trusted person to go to for the news locally here in Las Vegas. I mean, I guess George Knapp would probably be the closest to trustworthy. The guy has worked on some wild cases, the Bob Lazar case and stuff like that, but there's really no trustworthy news corporation left in the business. I mean, you're really up against it if you're looking for someone to turn to when it comes to the news. Yeah, there was a bunch of wild videos about that when it was going on, like the flight patterns being cleared out, the video of the security force escorting that person through the Tropicana. That shit was odd. Those dudes certainly weren't Metro. You can't have a Mohawk and be in Metro, be a part of Metropolitan Police. So this was like some kind of merc security team escorting this person through the Tropicana. Who the hell was the person they were escorting, and why were they in that sort of formation? That looked like the type of shit you see when they're escorting a politician through a war zone. So, again, there's just so many questions when it comes to that shooting that I don't even know. Dude, I would love to get down to the Virgin Islands, Chad. When this all blows over, I would love to get down there for a nice chat with some of the locals. Just like in New Mexico, when I had the locals reach out to me, I've had some people in the Virgin Islands reach out to me too. And of course, people are always more comfortable with a face-to-face conversation. So if I could ever get down there after this whole thing blows over, it's definitely on the agenda, bro, for sure. Very possible, AJF, very possible. We know that Adelson liked to control the flow of information. Couldn't ask for a better assistant, Chad. If you want to come down when I'm going down, you are more than welcome, bro. It'd be quite the adventure. Yeah, Jen, I don't blame her. We got to have you guys safe. We got to have you guys tucked away in Australia. I'll get down there and do the dangerous work. Don't worry. Yeah, Jesus, whatever his name was. I forget his last name. The guy that went on one talk show afterwards. You would think if he was such a hero that he would have parlayed that into a book, a television program, something. But we've heard hide nor hair of this dude. So it's all fishy. The whole entire thing from the top to the bottom smells like the Fulton Fish Market to me. And usually my bullshit detector is pretty good when it comes to stuff like that. They haven't been forthright at all. Compost, that's right, compost. So that dude, don't you think he would have parlayed that into a bunch of money in this age especially? He would have this huge social media following. He would have had, on all of the shows, this is the hero of the Route 91. But none of that happened. So right away I say to myself, who is this guy? And why hasn't this been turned into something that he can, Yeah, exactly, Ellen. Right, one daytime talk show, and it was Ellen. And she really peppered him with some hard questions. I think that what Epstein was talking about with spreading his seed was more of a transhumanist approach, not so much as having intercourse and impregnating the girls, but doing it through like test tubes, like whatever it's called, fertility, like a fertility drug almost. And I think that's what Epstein meant when he was talking about that. Again, I think it was because of the fact that when it comes to the seeding anyway, that it was the eugenics program, exactly. Going about it like the sick bastards in Nazi Germany, trying to, do it experimentally inside of a test tube or however it's done nowadays. I don't even know. Yeah, the FBI agent in charge was Aaron Rouse, I believe his name was. And when he was standing next to Sheriff Lombardo, you could just tell this dude looked like a cold heart killer. I mean, the guy just looks sadistic. And this is the guy in the FBI that's going to work this case and figure out who was involved in this shooting. Yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence. So yeah, I'm sure your buddy was right on with that, Chad, because look, I don't trust any of these section chiefs in the FBI. They're all compromised, in my opinion, one way or the other. They're just untrustworthy people. The whole lot of them. I don't know if he did. He might have some sort of sperm frozen somewhere, and he might have even had some sort of projects in play. But there's no evidence of that, like Jen is saying, zero evidence. Again, I think that is something that falls in the realm of the Santa Fe Institute and what they were involved in with Epstein and some of the projects that they were working on. I think that that's probably a decent place to take a look, but there is no evidence of it at all. Yeah, no evidence. You're right, Jen, 100%. Again, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove. And we can speculate and we can, say that this is our opinion, but we have to be clear about that. It's important, right, to dig into the eugenics portion of this, because all of that plays a role. All of these little tidbits all add up to the puzzle being put together. And if you aren't, adding up all the little pieces, you're never going to have this full story in context. And that's why it's so important that we do it every single day the way we've been doing it. It's just so important that we continue to stay on it and keep ahead of the game. Yeah, the Santa Fe Institute was involved in all kinds of wild shit. I mean, there's all kinds of wild people at the Santa Fe Institute, and don't get me wrong, a lot of great minds, great scientists, but it deserves a look. There's no doubt that it deserves a look, and the projects that were going on there, that were being worked on there, they deserve to be looked at as well, because the ties to Jeffrey Epstein, it's a little much, folks. I mean, how long and how many ties can you have to this guy before people start to say, all right, we have to take a deeper look. We have to see what's going on here. Because he didn't just move to New Mexico for no reason, right? He didn't have to register. Zorro Ranch is placed right between Los Al and the Santa Fe Institute. So this story is far from told in Santa Fe. Yeah, exactly. There's no way that it occurred. I mean, you look at the people who committed suicide at the facility Epstein was at, and there hadn't been anyone to commit suicide in years. All of a sudden, Epstein finds a way to choke himself out with some clothes off of the second bunk. That's what we're supposed to buy? Such BS. Why was he in that cell with Tartaglione in the first place? That should have never happened. Put him in with a jailhouse snitch, not with a murderer. Yeah, Rob, I'm not far behind you. We're about to wrap this bad boy up, too. We're 2 hours deep again, and I'm tired. I had a long day today. Chad, for sure. Look, there is so many different avenues that we need to explore here. For me, I believe that the intelligence portion of this was all about the blackmail. And Epstein parlayed that into other things, other side projects, when he knew that he had that protection from running as an asset several times, not just during this honey trap, but in other aspects. So he parlayed that off into other things, the transhumanism, the eugenics, because he felt like he had this umbrella of protection. Lucian, thanks for popping in, bro. We'll be back next Sunday. I hope you come back. Yep, exactly. This is a story that still has to be told, right? We haven't even reached the halfway point. And as we follow the evidence, if we're smart and we're being fair, our opinions will change as the evidence comes in, right? Something that we might think now, once more evidence is provided, we might be like, oh, we were a little off there. And, all we can do right now is look at the circumstantial evidence and read in between the lines. And I think that having these live streams and you bringing up some of the things that you've brought up tonight, Chad, and some of the other things that were brought up about like Venezuela, I think it all comes together and it helps us see this much more clearly. We're going to have to dig deeper into that too. Maybe we'll have to do an article on the finders too. Yeah, exactly. We can speculate. That's all we can do, right? We can look at all the stuff that's available to us and give the best educated opinion that we can possibly give. And that's exactly what I do here on this podcast. We read between the lines, and my commentary is the way I am perceiving this case. I'm not always right. There's been several times where I've been like, oh, how did I miss that? And I had to go back and reevaluate my whole entire opinion. And I believe that that's the sign of somebody who is chasing the evidence and who hasn't just been pigeonholed into one opinion. Thanks, Tracy. I appreciate you coming by. So, everybody, that's going to wrap up this Sunday's live stream. I'm going to head up to bed. Spent a lot of time in the mountains today with Carrie. We had a nice hike. Me, her, and her friend Michelle. Awesome day. But I think it's time to wrap it up. And next week, I should have my second phone fixed. So we'll be able to broadcast this at the same time on the podcast. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upload this session onto the podcast so it's in the catalog so we can go back and check it out. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Virginia, thank you for popping in. It is always a pleasure to have you and talk to you and get your perspective on things. And to everybody else that popped in, you guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you all so much. All right, everybody, enjoy your week. And we will be back next Sunday with the live stream. And obviously, I'll be back tomorrow morning with a new episode of the podcast. Good night, everyone.
You went online to switch your car insurance to Progressive so you could save money. But then you saw a friend request from an old summer camp buddy. And now here you are, clicking through photos of his kickball team from 2011. Looks like they won the championship that year. Then he moved to Tulsa. Oh, a new tattoo. Yes, they said it was easy to save hundreds on car insurance with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average savings by new customer surveyed who saved in 2019.
So we're sitting here with Bruce Springsteen. It's good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you also.
We come from such different places. It turns out there's a lot of overlap.
Renegades, Born in the USA, a new Spotify original podcast from Higher Ground. Listen free only on Spotify.